we always kind of suspected something was going to come around. We just didn't know what to really expect. Until 8:30 one morning, they're knocking on my door and they're like, "We're here with the search warrant."
Welcome, everyone. Today, we're hearing from someone who's lived through the consequences of being part of a pivotal moment in history. Someone who found herself at the Capitol on January 6th and whose life has changed forever because of it. You've seen the headlines, but behind the chaos and the images were real people, real lives. For our guest, it started with the FBI showing up at her door, agents storming her house and arresting her in front of her family. That was just the beginning of a long, painful journey. She served her time, weekends in jail, faced media scrutiny and a judgment from those who couldn't understand why she was there. It was a reckoning, a personal reflection on accountability, justice, and protest. Then something unexpected happened. She received a pardon. Yes, the president granted her mercy. And now here she is, sharing her story. What does it mean to have the law come down on you, serve your sentence, and then be offered a second chance? But here's the truly remarkable part. This woman is from our small community in Franklin County. Her journey resonates not just on a national scale, but also with those of us who know her and her story. Her transformation, her struggles, and her opportunity for redemption are all unfolding right here among us. Her story isn't just about politics. It's about redemption, reflection, and what it means to move forward after a life-changing event. Today, we hear from her about how she's navigating this difficult journey and figuring out what comes next. Please welcome Tina Logsdon, someone who's still processing what's happened, but who's here to share her path ahead.
Thank you so much for coming all the way down to the studio to tell us about this experience.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
When I heard we had someone in our community who had received a presidential pardon, I was like, she has to be on the show. Absolutely.
Instantly had to do it. And Tina and I met the other day and talked and talked a little bit about what all she's been through and what's been going on. So, yes, we really appreciate you coming out here today. And so I guess we'll start. You're from Cesar, right?
Yes.
And recently, let's start at the end, and then we'll go back to the beginning because the end is pretty neat. So,
it is.
You got a letter that you received from your actual probation officer,
yes.
right? And that letter said what?
It said that I have been pardoned and have been no longer on supervision since January 21st of 2025.
Okay. So what you found out is that, yes, it was in fact true. You personally,
yes.
Tina Logsdon, had received a pardon from Donald Trump, President of the United States.
Yes.
All right.
How did that feel?
It took me a minute. I'm like, because whenever I first seen it on the television when he was signing the executive orders, and I heard it, and I'm like, is it me though? I mean, he said so many, but am I part of that so many? And then I called my probation officer the next day, and I'm like, so am I pardoned? And she's like, I don't know. I have to get back a hold of you. This is all kind of happening so fast. So then she reached out to me a couple days ago and told me I was in the free and clear.
Wow.
And she sent me what she received to her office as far as my pardoning goes. So, yeah, it was exciting.
Oh, I imagine. Now, what was the actual charge that you pled guilty, right?
Yes, I did.
And what was the charge that you had pled guilty to?
Illegal protesting in a federal building.
Okay. And that's a misdemeanor, is that right?
Yes, it sure is.
And what actually was the sentence you received?
I got 7 weekends in jail, 62 hours of community service, a $500 fine, and 7 weekends in jail.
Now,
and 3 years probation.
Now, your sentence, though, your husband was there as well.
Yes.
And he was also charged.
Yes.
Now, did the two of you receive public defenders out of D.C.?
Yes. Well, our public defenders, mine was from Indiana. I'm not sure where his attorney was from, but they was from all over. Okay. But they was public defenders.
Did he receive a similar sentence?
Similar, but not the same.
Okay. What's the difference?
I got 62 hours of community service, and I had to do drug testing during my probation.
And what was the difference? What was your understanding of why you guys had different sentences?
I'm not for sure. There wasn't really any understanding.
Well, at your sentencing hearing, did the both of you talk?
Yes.
All right. And what did he say that was different than what you said?
He recognized that what he did could have maybe been handled differently and apologized for his actions of that day.
All right. Did you apologize?
No, I did not.
Okay.
So
no,
you
I did not.
Didn't apologize then, and are you apologizing now?
No.
And so in turn, you got a little stiffer sentence than he got.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Those things happen sometimes in the
Yes.
system.
So you stand behind what happened on January 6th and your behavior.
Wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly, yes.
So tell us, let's go back to that day. Right. So leading up to it, what event were you aware of that made you think, I'm going to go to Washington, D.C. on January 6th?
Oh, boy. Well, a lot of things. I can't just pinpoint one. It basically comes down to our government and how they think that they shouldn't be held accountable for anything, including stealing the election. I do believe the election was stolen in 2020.
So did you drive? Did you get on a plane?
Oh, we drove.
You
14, yes, 14 hours straight. My husband drove. We stopped off, I believe, in Kentucky on the way back. I can't remember. I think somewhere in Virginia on the way there.
So you just got in the car, you drove to D.C. and said, we want our voice to be heard. We want to protest.
Yes.
So how did you wind up in the Capitol building?
I walked in through the front doors. The Capitol building had already been what they're calling breached by the time I got there. I was there. I stayed throughout the whole rally. I listened to Trump speak. And when we was peacefully marching down to the Capitol building, by the time I got there, it had already been gotten into, and I said, we're going in. I looked my husband straight in the face. I'm like, get me in that building.
Do you regret that choice?
No.
So prior to that, though, you went to the rally. Trump had a rally that day away from the Capitol. So you went to the rally. You stayed there for the whole event, all of it?
Yes.
Okay. And that rally, what did it consist of?
Just more or less talking and about how we need to make our voices heard. And I mean, if you look at everything that led up to that, I mean, you had Black Lives Matter burning down cities. You had politicians not doing a thing about it, kneeling on our flag, not willing to stand up for the American people, the hardworking American people. A lot of businesses have been destroyed. And then what am I allowed to talk about?
Anything you want.
Okay. And then it went from that to coronavirus, everything. And then the restrictions and the mandates that they had. And then, you can't go vote in person. You had all these drop boxes.
Right, the mail-in ballots.
Yes.
So you had just had enough and
Absolutely.
You were there to protest.
Yes.
But did you ever commit an act of violence against anyone?
No.
Did you see any of the violence that they showed on television?
No.
So, and I've heard this from some other places and some other things I've seen. So you, when you stayed at the rally the entire time, by the time you got to the Capitol, the doors were open, were people just flooding in? What do you see when you walk up to the Capitol building?
When I first got there, what I would say my front line, the group of people in front of me was the Oath Keepers. And I hung out with them for a little while.
Are you an Oath Keeper? Are you part of that group? Okay.
No, I do respect them, though, very much so. Then we worked our way around the crowd. We was getting, not flash bomb, but like gassed at that time. They were shooting gas canisters at us.
Okay.
And nailed one of the Oath Keepers in the face, busted his nose. There was blood all over the place. And then we kind of skirted our way around the side. And then we went in and walked up the steps, and the door was already busted open, so we went in.
Now, how far away, when you said the canisters of gas that was shot at you, how far away were you from the Capitol at that point?
We was probably about 3-4 feet away from the steps.
Okay. And so you walk in, when you get to the door, when's the first time what do you see when you walk through the door?
A lot of gas, a lot of, it was real foggy. And I remember walking in a little ways, and I looked down and I found this flag, "Don't Tread on Me" flag. And I'm like, no way. I always wanted one of those flags. So I picked it up and I carried it with me. And then we met with like a wall of people, other people that was in there. And then we kind of was walking around, and then we came up against a line of Capitol police officers.
Okay.
And we stood there and we talked to them for a little while. I actually gave one of them like knuckles. And
so they weren't telling you at any point in time, get out, leave, don't be here, you're not allowed here.
No.
Okay, so other than the cans of gas, Were there any signs or fencing or anything that you saw to kind of let you know, hey, you shouldn't be here right now?
When we first walked up, there was a little bit of a fencing, but that was due to the construction that was going on.
Okay.
We was on the side of the construction building part.
So did you ever imagine you were going to get in so much trouble?
I don't really care. I didn't care. Who do they have to answer for? I mean, who do they have to answer to? I mean, they have a lot to answer for, but it's ridiculous how they can pick and choose what laws apply to us and what laws apply to them.
So for you, it was a situation where you'd had enough of where you felt like there was a double standard between the government and then the average everyday person out running.
Oh,
around.
absolutely. Absolutely. If we done half the stuff that they did, we would already be locked up. We'd probably be shipped off to Guantanamo Bay. And it's ridiculous.
So you enter the Capitol, you check it out, you pick up a flag, you give a police officer, some knucks, and then what?
Some of the people behind us got a little agitated and started pushing forward. And I ended up getting shuffled amongst the crowd. My husband was standing right next to me, but I got wedged in between like two really big dudes. I had to put my arms up to kind of stop from getting like crushed. And then we made our way to the window because they was getting a little too much. And as we got off to the side, one of the police officers got knocked away from the line that he was with, and we helped him get back to his group of people. And then we turned around and went the other way, and we ended up finding ourselves in the visitor center.
Okay.
So.
And as far as law enforcement goes, the Capitol Police that were there, how did you feel about them at the time?
We joked with them, we laughed with them. Even some of the cops that we seen going up to the Capitol, he's like, "You guys are going to be peaceful, right?" And we're like, "Absolutely." And we even give him knucks. And I mean, we wasn't there to harm anybody. We wasn't there to cause destruction or anything like that. And I should say me as an American person, because I'm only speaking for myself. I'm tired. I'm tired of nobody listening to us. I mean, I'm tired that after January 6th and we went on lockdown a million times during the coronavirus that I wasn't able to go to the hospital and tell my mom goodbye. Mm-hmm. But our governor can fly off to Florida 3 different times.
Do you feel like a terrorist?
No, I'm not a terrorist. I believe our government should be put in check. I honestly believe that.
So at some point in time, you head back to Illinois, head back to Franklin County, you're home.
Yes.
How many days go by before you get a knock at the door?
A year.
A year?
A year.
Wow. So for a whole year, you're just living your life, moving on, just doing what you'd normally do.
Yes.
So did
And
you
then
ever...
what?
Yeah, did you ever have any idea or inclination that maybe they might be looking for you or coming for you?
We always kind of suspected something was going to come around. We just didn't know what to really expect. Until 8:30 one morning, they're knocking on my door and they're like, "We're here with the search warrant." And I'm like, "Okay, come in." I have my nephews with me. I had 3 of my nephews with me. I have 5 nephews altogether. And I called my mom up right after that, and I'm like, "Mom, I have visitors. Can I bring the nephews to you?" I didn't say who it was. I just said company, I believe is the word I used.
Who was it at your door?
It was FBI and CSI.
How many?
17.
17 FBI and CSI agents in your front yard in Cesar, Illinois.
Yes.
To get you.
Yes.
Did they have
me and my
guns?
husband, yes.
Okay.
It was so early and it happened so fast. I didn't really look to see if they did or not. I'm sure that they did. That wasn't something I focused on.
Did they have weapons?
I'm sure they did.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
So they say, "We're here to search your house."
Yes.
And you said, "Okay."
Yeah, I sure did. I emptied my house of my nephews and my kid. My daughter was home at the time, which I completely forgot. I had to wake my husband up. He works midnights, so I had to get him up out of bed. And they wouldn't let me into the room. When I went to go wake him up, I opened the door and had to stand in the hallway with them next to me and was like, "Hey, we got company. You got to get up." And then they're like, is anybody else in the house? And I'm like, no. And then my husband, Chris, he's like, what about Betty? And I'm like, oh my gosh, Betty's home. And so they walk down the hallway with me, and I get her up and I send her down to her grandma's house. And me and my husband sit on the couch while they searched our house for, I'm wanting to say it was like 6-7 hours. They went through everything.
What were they looking for?
The clothes I had on leading up to the day. They took our phones and like hoodies, hats.
Did they arrest you after the 6 or 7 hours of searching?
No, we had to go report to the U.S. Marshal's office to get fingerprinted. They took digital fingerprints and the ink kind, and then they released us on our own recognizance. And then we came home, and when the trial started, that's when we got our sentencing. It was about 4 or 5 months after that we done our weekends.
So now, that day when you left to go get fingerprinted at the marshal's office.
Yes.
Did you come to Benton to the federal courthouse,
Yes.
marshal office there? Okay. And when you went there, did you ride in the car with them, or did you drive your own car?
We drove our own.
Okay, they just said, it's fine, just meet us up there?
Yeah.
All right. Did they hand you charges?
No, I think we got paperwork that we had to turn into our probation officer saying that we complied with it.
Okay. So
So you just cooperated and said, this is our new normal? You just accepted it? And
Yeah. I didn't
Took
really
it on
have
the
much
chin,
of
I
a
suppose.
choice. Yeah. They when the trial started and I got contacted by my attorney because they reached out to us, I told them, I said, I can't dispute I wasn't in the building. They had me on video footage. I was in the building. So go ahead. I mean, hit me with your best shot. I wasn't violent. I wasn't destructive. This is what I'll plead guilty to. They was threatening to send me away for 10 years. They had 5 felony charges on me and 2 misdemeanors.
I bet that was scary.
It was. And at first, I'm a little bullheaded. My husband gets mad at me about it. I'm like, I'm fighting this. I'm not pleading guilty. I'll take it to wherever. And he's like, no, you're not. This is what you're going to do. So
How was your public defender?
he was awesome. I have no complaints. I tried my husband's going to get mad at me, so but if it wasn't for me, I don't believe he would have went into the building that day. I was the one that was persistent on going in there. So, and I even told my attorney that at the time as well. And I'm like, I was scared that he was going to end up losing his job if he had to get sentenced. So I told the judge, I had my attorney contact the courts and tell them that if there's any jail time, I'll take it because I'm not sorry for what I did. I won't apologize just for a lighter sentence. I am not going to do it. So my husband got mad at me. He's like, my job's to protect you. And so, but they end up just giving us weekends.
So now.
Yeah. What was that like when you were in jail?
Scary.
Where did you do your time at?
Williamson County, Marion. My first time going, it was freaky. I've never been arrested before. I have no charges on me whatsoever outside this, and now I don't have it anymore. But I was in isolation the first 24 hours, and then they changed me out because they have to wait on a female guard because I'm a female. And then I'd go into like what they call general population, but it's only like 10 at most girls in there at a time. And it was different. But I met a lot of nice people, a lot of nice girls in there who just made bad choices along the way.
So you were at the Marion Federal Penitentiary there. You
Yeah.
weren't in the sheriff's. You weren't in the county. It was in the actual federal facility.
No, they had me at the county, but they had a federal section set up because of the corona. Otherwise, we'd have to go down to Missouri,
Okay.
St. Genevieve, or I believe something like that in Missouri or somewhere that they was going to send us. But that's like a 2-hour drive to do. So Marion County was willing to, or Williamson County, Marion, was willing to let us come there.
Okay.
And we both went to the same facility.
Have you faced any sort of stigma for being a January 6er? Or?
Well, I was a poll watcher whenever I first started going through this after the FBI raided my house and everything. And then after I got convicted, I was supposed to be an election judge, and they're like, we'll pay you for attending the classes, but you can no longer do that. Some people are like really chill with it. They're like, I wish I was there with you. Other people's like, well, we didn't give you permission. And I'm like, well, did your phone ring when I went? Did I call and ask for your permission? I didn't then. I'm not now.
So you think that this experience has sort of motivated you to become even more involved with politics instead of less involved?
Yes.
No matter the cost?
No. I don't want to be suicided. I mean...
Up to that, though, you want to get involved and be a part of it.
Yes.
Sure. And so just the whole experience, how do you feel about government after this? Are you soured on it? Do you feel the same? I mean, obviously you had some issues before, but...
There's anything in life. One thing is a definite. There's good and bad in everything. You can have an amazing lawyer who has your best interest at heart, or you can have a lawyer who's just wanting to get a paycheck. You can have a teacher who's really wanting to teach the kids, or just somebody who wants a paycheck. And government, you got the same thing. You got the people who in there who are concerned about the people who they're supposed to be watching over and remembering that they are working for us and trying to keep our best interest at hearts. And you got those that just want to line their own pockets and be able to do whatever they want to do. And
who is your least favorite politician?
It would have to be Hillary Clinton.
You're not alone on that. I think a lot of people would agree with you on that one. But now, recently, J.B. Pritzker, governor of the state of Illinois, at this point, says that his plan is to tell the Central Management Service, who does all the hiring in the state of Illinois, that no one who was a part of January 6th or who was there will be allowed to hold government office in Illinois. Are you aware that that's one of the things he's recently said?
I've heard talk about it, yes.
What do you think about that? That you're not allowed to, even though you've had a pardon, you have no criminal history at all, you're not allowed to do that based on he's saying that you shouldn't.
Well, why would you want your opponent to run against you? I mean, if you can stop whether a Republican doing it or a Democrat doing it, if you could stop anybody who could be a potential threat to you in the future, why would you risk it? And this is the perfect opportunity for him to try and make threats like that. But no, I don't think it's right, because it's like saying you don't have a voice. You don't have a right to believe what you believe in or view things the way you view them. And how dare you question us? Because if you question us, there's repercussions. As everybody well knows, if I would have been burning down cities and looting frickin' grocery stores or Nike apparel, I would probably have a GoFundMe page. But because I decided to stand up and question the very people who's supposed to be working for us, I'm labeled a domestic terrorist with no chance of getting off until my president pardoned me. So, and that has nothing to do with being Republican or Democrat. I love my country. I love the men and women in blue, and I support our troops. I back the firefighters. But because I question their integrity, I'm labeled a bad guy, and that's not right.
How do you feel about Donald Trump? I'm assuming that you're a fan of his.
I am a big fan of his, and it's not him in general, it's what he represents. And
what's that?
Hope.
And when you say hope, what hope are you looking at? That you
a better
think-
future, a future for my kids, one that they don't have to worry about working 6 jobs and still can't afford to buy milk or gas or your car, or, I mean, for me, it's about my kids and their future. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I'm a patriot. And that's how I feel about it.
Whenever you saw that Donald Trump had won this most recent election, what was your reaction?
I cried. I
I was surprised personally.
I was pretty excited. I was a little apprehensive because I was just waiting for, the lights to go out or mysterious ballots show up from unknown places.
Right. We went and saw the documentary about vindicating Trump and about some of the things that they think happened in the previous election. And after seeing that, I was very pessimistic that there was not hope of him winning.
No, right.
So to see that he actually pulled it off was like, wow.
I was really excited. I went in and joked around with my kids for a minute. We was bantering at home, and I went running in, and I looked at my daughter. I'm like, Trump just won. Who's your daddy? And I don't mean, it was family. And so for Christmas, she got me Daddy's Home shirt. It shows Trump and standing in front of the White House.
We actually saw a lot of those in D.C. We were there for the inauguration, and there was a lot of those shirts floating out there.
If you could say something to President Trump now that he pardoned you, I mean, he's taken this. Now, you still served your weekends. You still went through the year of waiting, the 5 months of your case pending and worried about being a felon and going to prison. But now that he's done this, if you could say something to him, what would you say to him?
Thank you. Thank you. Big supporter. Love you.
It's got to be a weight a little bit. I mean, I know it was a misdemeanor and it's a conviction, but it's a criminal conviction that you have. And for that to be off your shoulders and no more probation, which you were on for several years in the federal system. How does that feel? It's
nice. It's still getting used to it. First thing I want to do is plan a trip. I'm like, I still want out of here.
Did they keep you from vacationing or leaving the state?
We had to call and get permission, and depending on where we was going, how long we was going to be gone, is whether we got approved or not. But my probation officer was really chill with us. I mean, we didn't cause no issues. We complied with everything asked of us. So,
well, you've never committed a crime your whole life. You have a clean record. So I assume they thought these probably aren't going to be our toughest parolees that we have floating along.
The one and only time she ever told me no, I couldn't travel somewhere is when I asked to go to Trump's inauguration. She told me no.
You got told no on that.
Yes.
In honor of your pardon, I baked you a cake. It's an Italian cream.
Oh, my goodness.
And congratulations on the mercy of our government. And it was such a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. That looks so good.
It's all yours.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.